What's good? And happy All Hallows Eve. Today we're gonna talk about the modern horror phenomenon, the Conjuring movies. These 4 movies are scary, disturbing, and also really ridiculous at times, and sometimes kind of funny. The first movie came out in the golden age of haunted house possession movies, in what started out as a more grounded horror experience inspired by real life alleged incidents, has over time become a bombastic, borderline sci-fi fantasy thrill ride with jump scares. These movies are also really profitable. People love this stuff, to the point where The Conjuring spawned its own Conjuring verse. Like, this is the MCU of horror franchises, but instead of superheroes, it's just like Christianity. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 4 mainline Conjuring movies starring Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren, but I will eventually make a separate video going over all of the other movies in this verse. Each of the Conjuring movies are based around one of the real life cases investigated by the Warrens, and so each of these movies carries the tag based on a true story, which, as we see where this goes, just becomes so funny. Oh, but that's another aspect we'll get into. Anyway, that's enough preamble. Don your spooky costume, grab a handful of candy corn, and let's drop it. So the first Conjuring movie opens up with a pretty iconic introduction to Annabelle the doll. These girls call in Ed and Lorraine Warren because they think some sort of spirit has made its home inside the doll. And just right off the bat, who the hell would own a doll that looks like this, dude? So Ed explains it's not the ghost of a girl that's haunting the doll, it's a demon. They also have this weird line where they're like, demons don't possess things.
Demonic spirits don't possess things. They possess people.
But if that's the case, then what's the point of taking the doll and locking it away? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we catch up with the Warrens doing one of their lectures where they try to teach the public about the demonic. We get a pretty cringy line set up where someone's like, so what are you guys?
So what are you guys? I mean, what do people call you?
But right off the bat, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have incredible chemistry as Ed and Lorraine. They're great. But we get the Star Wars opening title crawl that informs you on the Warrens, and you get that based on a true story tagline. So what is the actual guidelines for that? Like, can they just say that only because they're using the real names of real people, even though nothing else in the entire thing is true? Like, anyway, the title reveal is pretty darn cool. I like that a lot. As the movie goes on, you just realize that James Wan has the sauce. And it's such a shame he moved on after the first 2 movies, because even though the material here is really nothing special, it's just so elevated by his filmmaking. So we follow a family with 5 daughters that are moving into this old ass abandoned house. I'm kind of joking, but not really. Like, I know they're not supposed to be extremely well off or anything, but this house they move into is just a bit absurd. It's so dark and all of the walls are like yellow and cracked and peeling, but we still get a really good sense of the space as we're introduced to this game the girls play called hide and clap, and this little scumbag child is just shamelessly cheating. Nah, she deserves what's coming. We get our first horror trope, the old boarded up basement. Even though I really like this movie, I'm still gonna point out the trope because this truly is just classic stuff. In many ways, The Conjuring is like, I don't know, the Avatar of horror movies, if that makes any sense. Just doesn't have a single original idea, but the way it's done is executed so well that you can't like deny it. The mom starts developing bruises, and at first she thinks it's because they're having freaky sex violent style. The dad is also the guy from Office Space, by the way, and he's just the same guy. Next we get the trope where all the clocks stop at the same time every night, 3 a.m. Sadly, the demons decided to kill the family dog in the night. That's right, they killed the dog in this one. How dare they? Guys, it's a horror movie. After this, we see the Warrens' cursed objects room. He explains it's like taking guns off the street, but it's just funny that he brings like a reporter in there, because from what we see later on in these movies and the beyond powerful beings that reside in some of these things, I mean, they should both realistically just be torn to atoms by even stepping foot in this room. The literal Antichrist is contained in that box. But let's take a look and see whatever funny little artifacts they got in there. Looks like they got the haunted painting, the fiendish telescope, the diabolical toucan, this evil egg in a jar. I want to know the story behind that one. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that Matt Rife bought the Warren collection in real life, like with Annabelle and all of it. Like, why did he do that? Was it for attention or something? To convince people that he was so brave? Like, I don't know. no. Back at the house, we got a little rapid fire here. Little kid sleepwalking. Birds flying into the window. Kid has imaginary friends. So the youngest of the daughters wants to show her mom her little music box where you can see her friend Rory standing in the mirror behind you. And she just does this.
Boo, Mommy!
Dude, if my kid jump scared me like that...
What? She startled me.
Oh, but for real, why would you do that? During the night, one of the girls, played by Joey King, keeps getting dragged by the foot. But I have to say, who the hell sleeps like that with your whole ass legs out from under the covers? What is wrong with you? But we get this excellent scene where it's nothing but a dark corner and Joey King's acting. This is how you build great tension and suspense near the beginning of a horror movie without, excuse my French, blowing your load too quickly. After this is the iconic hide and clap scene. And not only is this scene amazing, but using it as the teaser is just pure genius. That got people so hyped for this. If anyone doesn't know, you'd be watching the previews before any movie started in the movie theater, and they would just play this scene from The Conjuring. That, along with the rumors that its rating had been bumped from PG-13 to rated R, just on its scare factor alone, made this movie kind of a phenomenon. But stuff escalates fast as hell from here, and we get pants pooping scene after pants pooping scene. We get a really good jump scare in our first unobscured look at the demon as it jumps down on one of the girls from the top of the dresser. Even if it is a little bit cheesy the way it zooms in, watching it now, I don't know. Still got me, Kat. We get a closer look at what the Warrens teach in their lectures, and it's funny to me how insane the shit they're showing is. Imagine going into a college class and they're like, okay, here's proof of demons and hell. I'd love to go to a lecture of what the real Warrens were showing in real life. Yeah, talk about the satanic panic. So the mom shows up to enlist the Warrens' help. Lorraine Warren walks around and she can see things that no one else can see because she has cursed energy. She's what you might refer to as a jujutsu sorcerer. So they have to gather enough evidence that they can send to the Vatican, who will then approve the exorcism. And if they get enough stuff, they'll send an ordained priest to come and perform it. It's kind of funny how this is sort of dropped in the other movies to an extent. In this one, it's presented like this is a desperate situation and Ed has to try his best, even though he's not a priest. But in the next ones, they don't bother all that much with that. They just kind of have Ed and Lorraine show up to exorcise it like they're professional demon hunters. But to gather evidence, they bring in Drew. He's like their technical guy, but he's in all of the movies. They also bring in this skeptical cop. And just so you know that we're in the 70s.
Pretty far out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's groovy.
So we see the scene where Lorraine is hanging up laundry, and you get this shot. This is just masterful horror direction. Like, I don't think we see anything as slick as that in any of the other movies going forward. That is just so good. This is where the mother, Carolyn, gets possessed by the demon by way of it, like, throwing up black goo into her mouth. So in one of their last cases, Lorraine saw something that almost made her lose it. It was something that made her lock herself in a room for 8 days without saying a word, which makes Ed really scared about her pushing herself too far with this case. We get the question, what did she see? But we don't find out, which is a good thing. You're left to just imagine it, which is way scarier. And if this was any of the other movies, we would have definitely gotten a close-up of some CGI demon face. But after this, things start to go crazy at the house. There's a great moment where the cop sees the ghost of a maid and it jumps out at him. Look what you made me do! This is, to me, probably the best jump scare in the entire series. It's so good that I already knew it was coming because I specifically remembered it back when I saw this movie in theaters as a little preteen. That's right, I was like 12 or something. And I made my dad take me to see this, and I shit my pants and left a little brown stain on my movie theater seat. Metaphorically. We get that great shot of the girl flying around by her hair. And back at the Warrens' house, we see that Annabelle is out of her cage. And this demon is just terrorizing their daughter, Judy. And I just gotta say, kinda seems a little up that they stockpile all this stuff in their house basically just across the hall from where their daughter sleeps. That kid would be so traumatized. The family stays at a hotel while they send all the footage to the church, but the possessed mom grabs a couple of the daughters and drives back to the house. So yeah, I guess this demon from the 1700s drives all the way across town without violating any traffic laws. But I have to say, Lily Taylor as Carolyn does an incredible job. She sells the possession so well. I know horror performances never get any recognition, but she is so incredible in this movie. She's going all crazy, bites the cop's face, one of the more gruesome moments of the movie, but they're able to restrain her in the chair. We get the wonderful moment where she levitates and flips upside down onto the ceiling. I can't believe this is a true story. But we don't have time for a priest to show up, so Ed has to step up. I'm not familiar with the power magic system this movie's operating under, but at first it doesn't seem like he can defeat the demon. The holy water's not cutting it. I don't know why Lorraine doesn't just exorcise it with her cursed technique, but she gets free right when Drew finds where the daughter is hiding. And he just absolutely sells by screaming her location.
I found her! She's under the house, under the kitchen!
But right in the nick of time, the exorcism starts to work because they really want it to work this time. Ed asks the husband to give some support, but he's just no help.
Roger, we need to get her to fight from the inside! Don't let her do this to you, okay? Don't let this thing do this, you gotta fight it.
Honestly, it sounds like he's barely trying. And then Ed goes, I condemn you back to hell! But they still manage to free Carolyn. And everything's gonna be okay. Hopefully there's not one last scare. But that's The Conjuring. I love this movie. You really cannot go wrong with this as your Halloween watch. I give it a strong 4 out of 5. It's a classic. But with a box office return this good, Warner Brothers was seeing franchise potential. So let's see if any of the other movies can hold a candle to this movie. Conjuring 2 came out 3 years after the first one and was also directed by James Wan. This opens with the infamous Amityville case. Ed and Lorraine are investigating and we get a closer look into Lorraine's powers. She can essentially go into the memory of anything that happened and reenact it with herself as the murderer. It's basically like going into the Further in the Insidious movies. But during this, we see this little scary boy, which is from the famous photo that Ed Warren took at the real Amityville house, which I'm sure is a real ghost boy and not a guy kneeling with the camera flash reflecting in his glasses. Okay, I'm sorry if I come off really skeptical throughout this video. I don't want to harsh anyone's buzz if you're a real ghost head. But in this vision, Lorraine goes down to the basement where we're introduced to the nun, which is basically the second biggest iconography to come out of these movies behind Annabelle, and spawned an amazing movie. And then there's an explosion of furniture and Lorraine sees something. And just right off the bat with this intro, the herky-jerky demon kids, and all this crazy stuff, I feel like we've already jumped the shark into full camp. Kinda. I mean, the Annabelle intro of the first one was so reserved, just bubbling tension, and it set the tone so well and didn't overplay its hand. Here, I'm not saying we're not having any fun or that it's not scary at all, but when based on a true story shows up, it hits different this time around. But then the movie starts in earnest, and the scariest thing about this movie reveals itself.
It's just a wanker.
So our main character, Janet, is hanging out with her friend, and her friend is smoking, which is just kind of crazy because I feel like they're like 9. Then we know the family's down on their luck because Peggy says, "We have no money!"
We don't have any bloody money!
I mean, come on, a bit on the nose, ain't it? But for real, they're kind of comically down on their luck in this movie. But James Wan is having so much fun with the camera in this one. At night, Janet is having issues teleporting downstairs in her sleep. Then we see Ed and Lorraine on some sort of Johnny Carson show. Something about these movies is the way they depict Ed and Lorraine is just that they're undeniably sympathetic, incredible people who are so pure of heart, and their only motivation is to help as many people as possible. While any detractors are depicted as these self-satisfied, snarky, who only want to tear them down. Now, as I love these characters, I don't mind this much, but since these are based on real life people and events, this comes off as so weird to me. I'm not trying to just put down anyone's faith or anything like that, but I think it's undeniable that the Warrens manipulated and sensationalized these things. So to have a completely uncritical depiction of them just seems a little bit strange. Back to the movie. The youngest bloke of this family uses this crooked man toy to help with his speech impediment. I don't know what the crooked man is. Is it some sort of British folk tale? But either way, this kid absolutely loves biscuit.
Biscuit! Biscuit!
So this movie moves pretty quick and there's some great jump scares early on. Janet is sleepwalking and playing a game with Billy. Little Billy then walks by his tent and inside is just a chasm of darkness. He pushes his fire truck in only for it to come back out. So of course he goes closer and tries it again. Where out of nowhere, there's just a loud ass an old man scream. I jumped so hard when that happened, but I also couldn't stop laughing. I don't know why. I feel like jump scares usually have, you know, a loud sound effect or something jumps towards the camera. But here they just have a long moment of silence and then an old guy shouts into the microphone as loud as he can. But Janet isn't feeling good, so she stays home from school the next day. And this movie is just not letting up, dude. There's another scare where the old man appears behind the TV and screams, "My house!" Dude, let me catch my breath, movie. God damn. So back with the Warrens, Ed says he can't sleep, so he decides to paint what he saw in his nightmare. And Lorraine goes around his shoulder to see what he's painting. Like, oh my god, dude, why the f are you painting that? Lorraine looks all scared and he's like, oh, I didn't think it was that bad. I'm sorry, dude. Obviously, she doesn't think it's bad. She's reacting like that because you painted a literal photorealistic face of a horrifying demon. Then we cut back to, you know, the most haunted house of all time. The girls freak out, they wake up their mom, and it's a really great subversion of the parent like disbelieving their kids trope, where the ghost is just not shy and instantly does some ghost shit in front of the mom. It happens again too when the cops come around, kind of a funny moment. At the Warrens, Lorraine and Judy come face to face with the nun, and honestly, this shot of the nun down the hallway is so iconic to me. It's so memorable. But then the scene just keeps going. The nun's shadow goes around the room and possesses the painting, and the way they have the painting chasing Lorraine with like bloody monster teeth, it just goes way too far in my opinion. A news crew shows up to the Enfield house and they do a little early version of Ghost Adventures.
There are things in this world that we will never fully understand.
They interview the ghost through Janet and they find out that this horrifying spirit possessing her is named
Bill Wilkins.
And they dub it the House of Strange Happenings. Bro, what is up with British people? If this was in America, they would have called it the evil Blood Mansion on Kill Street. Next, we get the Crooked Man sequence where Billy is confronted with the real Crooked Man. And it's just like this giant CGI guy that moves in kind of stop motion. To me, we have entirely lost the plot. Like, all tension has been broken for me. I don't want to say that the wheels have fallen off. I still enjoy this movie, but Janet's going full demon mode.
For God's sake!
And it's just funny at this point. It's not scary. It's way too much. It's also revealed what Lorraine's premonition was. And she says it's the same one she had 7 years ago in the first movie. Turns out it was a vision of Ed's death. Or more specifically, him getting impaled by a giant tree. In the first movie, it's so mysterious. It's like, what did Lorraine see? Now we know what it is, and it's Patrick Wilson getting a CGI tree bursting through his chest. That just shows the difference between these two movies. Now, to stay positive, Ed and Lorraine are still the heart and soul of these movies. When they finally get to the Enfield house, this movie picks up a lot. They both separately tell the story of how they met to Janet, and it's actually beautiful stuff. They are so good as these characters. Ed then interviews Bill Wilkins, and there's a really cool shot where the background silhouette slowly morphs from Janet into Bill. But for some reason, Lorraine is not sensing anything, which is kind of weird. I mean, if she's such a powerful psychic, can the demonic entity really do that? Like, it's doing all this crazy stuff that it's always doing, and then simultaneously hiding its presence from her powers because it's still doing ghostly stuff while she's there. I don't know. Maybe that's a nitpick. Ed sings Elvis Presley to the kids, and it's Sappy City, but I will let it slide because it's still a great scene and lay on the sap. Then they capture footage of Janet seemingly faking a ghost incident, which is from the real story. In real life, the news team apparently captured footage of Janet like bending spoons and stuff to keep the ruse going, because obviously in the real case, it was a young girl who liked the attention of the news crews and everything and probably faked the whole thing. Yeah, faked the whole thing. There's even the real famous photo of her levitating, and I'm sorry, but it's so clearly just her jumping off the bed. I wish I thought of this when I was a kid. I would have definitely done this, dude. But in the movie, apparently she does this because the demon told her to make the Warrens leave. But after 2 tape recordings fall out of Ed's suitcase and form a literal X marks the spot, they listen back to the footage and they find out that the nun is behind the haunting and is using Bill Wilkins like a puppet. He's been taken over by something inhuman, something that takes a blasphemous form to mock your faith. Which I'm sorry, but in my opinion, the nun is just not scary, dude. They go back to the house where they get split up by the impenetrable ghost door, and then Ed gets blinded by steam. Ed is wandering around the house, and then he finds the Crooked Man toy, and for some reason, he just sticks his face into it. He's literally like, whoa, what's this thing? Dude, this is kind of cool. Then we see the Crooked Man again, and I bet my bottom dollar that this was all to set up some kind of spinoff. But he finds Janet in the upstairs room. But a lightning bolt strikes the tree outside, making the spike from Lorraine's vision. Then Janet just tries to drop herself down onto it, but Ed catches her. And at this point, was this whole thing just a convoluted plan to kill Ed? Like, is that the motivation? But Lorraine shows up to face the nun, and it has the power to like force choke her up against the wall. Like, if it wants to kill Ed or anyone, just rip his head off or send a knife flying into his jugular. Like, it could literally do anything it wants, I feel like. But Lorraine knows its name because I asked you and you told me and I wrote it down. That name is Valak. Are you serious, bruh? But because she knows the name, that gives her all the power she needs to exorcise this demon. And this scene is so over the top. We've really gone into pure cartoonsville. But she condemns her back to hell. And again, I have to say, that's all it took. And then everything's gonna be okay. They take the Crooked Man thing back to the artifact room, and yeah, that's The Conjuring 2. Not as good as the first one by any means, but still held up by James Wan's directing and the incredible Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5. Unfortunately, this was the last Conjuring movie directed by James Wan, and boy, do you feel it. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This movie starts out with the exorcism of a little child. They have a priest pulling up, which seems to be a pretty on-the-nose reference to The Exorcist. They find him in the bathroom upstairs where we get a pretty good little child with a knife jump scare. But this scene sets such a strange tone for this movie, in my opinion. The levels of insane shit happening with like the priest getting knocked out and this kid contorting his body, scratches on the walls, stuff flying around. It feels a lot more akin to like a horror comic book movie like Constantine as opposed to The Conjuring.
I know where you're hiding.
But this kid's brother-in-law can't take it anymore, and he tells the demon to let go of David and take him instead. Somehow the only person who overhears this happening is Ed, and he has a heart attack right after. And again, to follow this up with the based on a true story, I mean, they have some balls at this point, I have to say. So Arnie is the possessed guy's name. Him and his fiance live above and work at this dog pound that's owned by this drunk ass guy. They're going away to hang with the fam, but Arnie's acting a little weird. He sees this rat, and for some reason he follows it till he finds this rat hole, and he just sticks his eye up to it as close as he possibly can. Like, what does that accomplish, dude? And then the movie tries to jump scare you, and it just falls flat. Like, I'm so easily gotten by jump scares. Here's footage of me playing Resident Evil 4. If this movie can't even pull off making you jump with a loud noise, then we're operating at an abysmal level. We see him working up in a tree, and there's someone in the window watching, which causes him to get freaked out, and he drops the chainsaw on the ground. And this movie's just not scary. It's got no sauce. Like, it's hard for me to put my finger on. Ed wakes up, and the first thing he says is, "It's got Arnie."
It's got Arnie.
We cut back to the dog pound where Arnie's just basically being terrorized by this drunk asshole. And yeah, dude, this is definitely me after I'm drunk off 6 beers. And I'm sorry, dude, this makes me so uncomfortable. Just why are they so fucking sweaty? So it escalates until the point where the demon makes Arnie hallucinate that this guy is like a creature crawling on all fours straight at him like a banshee. And Arnie freaks out and stabs the ever-living out of him like 50 times. This lands Arnie in prison, and the Warrens try to help him with his case. They want to get Arnie a not guilty verdict by reason of demonic possession. Now, this part of the story actually happened. Doesn't that sound like such an interesting case and would make for a really compelling compelling movie? Well, screw you, dude, because this is the only scene that touches on the court case in the entire film. Are you shitting me? So it's Ed and Lorraine's job to apparently collect evidence for the case. So they go back to the house and we get a flashback of when that kid David first got possessed. It's like this scary waterbed set piece. And I don't know, dude, the idea that there's someone inside my waterbed is not scary to me. It's just funny. But they look down at the floor where the waterbed broke, and Ed and Lorraine are like, oh shit, that's not water damage, that's ghost damage. This leads Lorraine to enter the crawl space under the house to see what's down there, and she has to face off against the Royal Rat Vanguard. But she collects this satanic artifact. And at this point, if they're collecting evidence for the court, why don't they just show the footage of the possessed kid contorting his body and like flying around basically? Anyways, they seek out this sort of Satan cultist expert, and he's like,
I have chicken shit on my hands.
But he brings them down to his evil ass dungeon to show them his artifact collection. They ask him why he doesn't just burn all this stuff, and it's like, you guys are ones to talk, you freaks. But anyway, the twist with this one is that they're not just dealing with a demon, but they're dealing with a nemesis curse user who's setting things in motion with her rituals. This witch is continuously sending scary stuff to happen to Arnie while he's in prison. But also, this prison is just the scariest prison of all time. Like, why is he just mopping in the complete darkness? His girlfriend goes to visit him and he's like, I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm tired.
No, dude, you look absolutely Ed and Lorraine travel to another town where there's an open investigation involving one of those totems that they found. They travel out into the woods where these teenage girls murdered each other. And Lorraine's like,
Ed, something terrible happened here.
oh, really? Was it maybe that little girl who got stabbed 27 times that guy just mentioned? But she uses her cursed technique to find out what happened here, and it kind of possesses her and makes her like run to the edge of the quarry. And a ghost hand shows up and tries to pull her off the cliff. Ed shows up and saves her. It's just really dumb. Ed tries to get in contact with Debbie, but the ghost literally interferes with the phone call. And Ed like looks directly into the camera and he's like, what is this thing?
What is this thing?
After this, they decide for some reason they have to break into the mortuary where the girl from the quarry's body is, so Lorraine can hold on to its hand and connect to the witch. It's so convoluted, but I guess that works. And Lorraine is able to see through the eyes of the witch. While that's happening, this gigantic fat dead monster guy is reanimated and he starts just running at them and tries to lay down on top of Lorraine. This is one of the more memorable things from this movie. I feel like they do a good job of making you feel this thing's weight. They regroup back at their crib, but the witch is one step ahead of them. She sends a special grade cursed object in a bouquet of flowers to their house, which possesses Ed. He has this vision where he sees the witch and we hear her speak, but unfortunately they just didn't even try to like make her scary at all. It's just this meek old woman with a very normal voice. She's not imposing in any way for the main villain of your horror movie. And then Ed almost stabs Lorraine in his possessed state. After he comes to, they find the artifact in the bouquet of flowers. It's this really cool moment with slow motion, but they just kind of ruin it with bad editing, where they speed up the footage like right at the end. I just don't know why they didn't commit to the slow motion. I don't know, it's just a nitpick. Luckily, they were able to figure out a way to stop it.
Does it say how to stop it?
Yeah.
Inside the evil book, for some reason, it has a footnote on how to stop the evil curse. They just need to destroy the witch's altar and her witch's cauldron too, if she has one of those. After this, they decide to Scooby-Doo split up, and Lorraine goes back to the Satan expert guy. Ed geolocates the position of the altar using certain clues and comes to the conclusion that the Satan expert's house is the only place the altar could be. So he freaks out and goes out to chase after Lorraine. And the guy's being like all creepy. He like goes into the room and turns on the light when she walks in, but it turns out he's not actually a bad guy. So why did he do this? Literally, other than to scare the audience, why the f would he do that? Just being an annoying little freak. But it turns out that the witch is actually his daughter. It's so dumb. He's like, I continued my studies into the occult to protect my daughter, but she would have never been exposed to any of that if he had never been studying it in the first place. But so he sends Lorraine into his underground tunnels to like find the altar before the witch can show up. But when she does, she literally has like satanic superpowers. She uses flash step to teleport behind her dad and kill him. So keep that in mind every time she doesn't kill Ed or Lorraine for the rest of the movie. They have a bit of a scuffle, which ends with Lorraine absolutely clocking her with a rock. Ed finally shows up, but he's hit with the powder that makes you evil. I swear, Patrick Wilson is always getting possessed in these movies. Oh, I forgot to mention that intercut with this is Arnie having an exorcism in the prison. Everything not having to do with the Warrens in this movie is so forgettable, but his exorcism is so insane. He's like flying and breaking all the windows in the prison. How does nobody in the prison witness what's going on? But back with the possessed Ed, luckily Lorraine is like, remember me, and he's like, okay, I will. And he breaks the altar, but I guess the curse was still promised a soul, so basically it takes the witch's soul and it turns her body into a pretzel, which was actually kind of cool. And then everything's gonna be okay. And the movie wraps up with the end of the trial. We skipped over the whole thing. We get text explaining that Arnie Johnson was convicted of manslaughter in 1981 and served 5 years. So here's the thing, dude. After watching that whole movie, which was based on a real life murder, where they depict him completely and utterly sympathetically. Like, no, it was entirely demonic possession. He's 100% innocent. That just sits weird to me. This was a real event where someone really died and this guy was really convicted. I mean, it's a bit exploitative and shameless, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna say something and I don't know how controversial this is going to be, but I'm just gonna say it. Demonic possession is not real, but this crime was real. Like, I'm not reading too much into this, right? Am I crazy? Is this a crazy thing to make a movie about with giant demon creatures with like bloody monster teeth and yellow eyes controlling people? Whatever, you know, make of this what you will. This movie sucked anyways. I'd give it a 1.5 out of 5. And we're on to the final film. Here we are at the recent Conjuring Last Rites. Apparently the final Conjuring movie. Except this kind of crushed at the box office, surprisingly. So if they don't return to this well with like the Conjuring bloodlines, I'll be shocked. Also, since this movie is just finishing its theater run, I really won't have much footage to show from it, so you'll have to bear with me a bit on the visual side of things. This movie starts out with a flashback to the first Warren case. They did a pretty great job getting young actors that look and act exactly like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. So Lorraine is pregnant with Judy here. And in this cold open, we see her interact with the cursed object of this film, the haunted mirror. The demon in this mirror then imprints on her baby.
You imprinted on my daughter?
We fast forward to the present day 80s and we see them still doing their thing. They're a little bit older, they're still doing lectures now, but nobody really gives a anymore. Sadly, there's only like 6 people in the lecture and they're mostly just annoying college brats making fun of them. This is where we're reintroduced to the adult version of Judy. I was taken a bit off guard here because they recast Judy Warren, but it makes sense here because they need an older Judy. Anyway, Mia Tomlinson here does a great job. The Warrens are retired from doing cases at this point, so this plot is kind of like a one last case type of thing. We see that Star Wars opening title crawl that's like, there was one case that was scarier than all the others. Okay, I know I've been joking about the true story thing this whole time. All I'm saying is, unless they actually battled a flying mirror like Goku versus Vegeta in Pennsylvania in the 80s, then take that off the movie. As an adult, we see that Judy has the same powers as her mother, but she has problems shutting them out. So we jump back and forth between the Warrens and the family that the case is about. Anyways, the haunted mirror shows up at their house. One of the daughters gets it as her birthday present. You can tell she's kind of annoyed. I can tell I'm getting older because if someone gave me a beautifully carved ornate mirror, I would be so stoked. It's like a beautiful antique. One of the cool things about this is the setting. They're in this like industrial factory town where smokestacks dominate the skyline and everything is just choked in smog. This is such a cool backdrop for a horror film and I just wish they did something more with that. The girls are really creeped out by this mirror, so they decide to throw it out. And if I was their parents, hoo boy, I would be cross with them. This was some expensive ass dude. So the mirror gets crushed in a trash compactor. And this causes one of the girls to like throw up blood and chunks of glass. From there, we cut back to the Warrens and they're having a party. One of the big problems with this movie is that it doesn't split its time between these two plot lines well. Everything with the Warrens was really good, but it takes up a vast majority of the screen time in the first half of the movie. So when we cut back to the haunting of this family, it feels like we're speed running their story or like just completely missing scenes. Like, I guess that girl was just good after throwing up that glass. Like, it's not mentioned again as far as I can remember. If they wanted to make a movie solely focused on the Warrens, then they could have just done that. I thought that the way the first two movies did it, with the family as the focus and Warrens as supporting, at least until the third act, worked really well. As it is, I feel very unconnected to this family. I couldn't tell you anything about them. I don't think we learned any of their names. I don't even know how many kids there were supposed to be or anything like that. So here, pretty early on, one of the girls is chased through the house with a ghost swinging an axe at her, which just felt more like a scene from like It. But at the Warrens' party, we're introduced to Judy's boyfriend. Ed is like bringing everyone into the artifact room to like show them. Felt a bit out of character for him. Like, he takes this stuff so seriously. Would he really be like breaking it out like it's a party trick? Plus, like I said, the amount of power these artifacts have. If one of these party goers brushes one of the artifacts, they're gonna instantly start levitating through the air, fucking clawing through people. Like, how does the painting of Valak not jump off the wall and kill someone? I guess they're all lying dormant. We also see a couple characters that we remember. You know, we see the cop from the first one. He has a pretty funny cameo. Drew is here. I swear he has the most nothing bit part in all of these movies, but he always just shows up at some point in the background. Like, at least give him a line. I swear he added a lot to that first movie. I don't know why they just won't let him come along for these cases. We see a pretty sweet scene where the boyfriend asks them if he can have their approval to propose. Ed's kind of a hard ass, but Judy walks in while they're talking about it and she sees the ring and she immediately says yes. So it's like, aw. I want to talk about the actual demon in this one. It's like a creature with sharp teeth and like a big wide cartoon smile. Even though it did remind me of like a creepypasta, it was actually pretty scary and they showed it sparingly. There was a great jump scare where the dad drops his glasses and then when he picks them up, it's like at the foot of his bed. And this got me so good, I can't lie. I literally like flapped my arms in the theater. Like, also, one of the better scenes of this movie is when Judy's like in this mirror room trying on her wedding dress. This was super tension filled. It went on for a long time, but without staying its welcome. I just think it was a well done scene. So this priest visits the haunted house, but when he tries to go to the church to get help for the family, the demon like chases him down and finds him in this office. It like burns the cross out of his hand and then makes him, you know, unalive himself. Not to get into power scaling, but like, what is this demon capable of? If holy water and crosses and actual priests don't pose any threat to it, like what threat do the Warrens pose, I guess? So Judy decides to go to Pennsylvania kind of randomly, but the Warrens follow her there and these two plot lines finally converge. Judy finds the mirror in the attic and this is where Annabelle shows up. There's this pretty weird moment where Annabelle turns into this giant CGI version of Annabelle and chases her down the hallway. This was really not scary for me. I'm sorry. This was really goofy. But Judy hits her head and then becomes possessed. Then she throws Lorraine down the stairs. And this part was insane. She takes like a really hard fall down the stairs. Like, that really should have killed her. Then Judy starts attacking everyone else. She like uses her telekinesis to pick up the dog and slam it against the wall, which I was surprised by. I'm sure test audiences were like, I don't like that. Ed and the dad try to move the mirror, but it's like too heavy and it fights back. And the demon makes Judy go up to the attic and frickin' they save her and they all fall through the floor. They manage to resuscitate Judy. And then we just get that crazy screaming over the top Conjuring climax that all of these movies kind of devolve into. We leave horror behind and go way overboard into the realm of sci-fi fantasy as the mirror pushes them down the hallway and they're basically having an anime battle with the demon realm. But of course they condemn it back to hell and then say it with me now, everything's gonna be okay. We do wrap up the Warren story with an extremely heartfelt and touching end. I actually think it would be detrimental to do another Conjuring movie because I really enjoyed the epilogue of this movie. It was a very nice send-off for these characters and Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga from this franchise who have more than earned their spots as horror royalty at this point. So all in all, while this movie wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst either at all. I would give it a 3 out of 5. And with that, those are the Conjuring movies. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as as I enjoyed making it. Let me know what other movies you guys would like me to talk about. And drop your friggin' Halloween costumes down below, dude. I'm still not completely sure what I'm gonna be for Halloween. Let's just say it's a bit of a mystery. Anyways, thank you to my lovely patrons. If you want to support me, it's in the description. It means the world to me. Bye bye, kisses, I love you. And happy Halloween!